Trees and humans have long been intertwined. They give us life in the form of oxygen, food, shelter, and warmth. They connect us to our ancestry as a form of living history. They provide a haven and a banquet for wildlife, and a healing sanctuary for us. Trees lead our eyes skyward and remind us to keep our roots firmly planted in the ground. Walking in the woods makes us feel that we're part of something beautiful that was here long before we arrived and will be here long after we are gone. It doesn't require much effort to get to know trees, the habitats which they create, and the thousands of other species that they support. Simply go to them, lean against them, pick up their leaves and seeds, feel their bark, and observe the comings and goings of their inhabitants. But first, let me introduce you to some of the trees you'll meet in Ireland. Some, but not all, so you can go and greet them by name. These trees are my neighbours, living in and around Coole Eco-Community in Ferbane, County Offaly. This is Alder. Perhaps because its white wood turns to red when cut, the alder is associated with war, death, and fire. It was used for making shields back in the day. But actually this tree supports a great deal of life. Through a symbiotic relationship with bacteria, it fixes nitrogen in the soil, making this nutrient more available to other trees and plants. Alder likes open spaces with damp soil and is often seen growing near rivers. Its catkins are purple when they first appear, before they open up to show yellow pollen, which is dispersed by the wind. Alder is the only broadleaf tree in Ireland to produce cones, and you'll see these little round brown cones hanging off the tree in winter. This is the ash tree. It can grow to be nearly 40 metres tall. It's easy to identify in summer by its leaves, which are made up of 9 to 13 small leaflets, or by its bunches of propeller-shaped seeds, which spin far away from the adult tree on the wind. But in winter you can see that the ash tree's twigs are positioned opposite each other on the branches, and where the black leaf buds are about to burst open at the tips and further along the twigs, I think they look like the knuckles on the long bony fingers of an aye-aye. In Ireland, the ash is considered one of the trilogy of sacred tree species, along with the hawthorn and the oak. 3 of the 5 legendary magic trees of Ireland were ash trees. Ash can be coppiced for firewood. This means cutting the tree back so that it produces multiple shoots from its stump. The strong wood of the ash is also used for making hurling sticks. But since we are losing many ash trees to the spread of a tree fungus called ash dieback, bamboo hurling sticks are becoming more common. Beech was introduced to Ireland around 1,000 years ago, so it may not support as many wildlife species as the other trees in this video, which have been established here for over 11,000 years. But it has naturalised and become a hugely important feature of our landscapes, including here in the hedgerows of Coole. With its smooth grey bark and thin reddish leaf buds, beech trees are very distinctive. One of the treats it offers to wildlife and to us are the delicious 3-angled beech nuts, encased in tough prickly husks, which can be collected from the ground in autumn. This beech tree at Coole Eco-Community is particularly old.
And I'm here with my favourite tree, the beech tree. This tree was planted probably in the late 18th century, early 19th century. In fact, the older the beech tree, the more biodiversity it supports. For example, there's a hole here in the tree and a bird has made its nest in it. And also some dead wood, which is home to wood-boring insects.
We have 2 species of birch in Ireland, silver and downy. These can be hard to tell apart, but in parks and gardens you're most likely to see silver birch, with its dazzling white or peachy coloured bark with black wrinkles. The bark peels off and can be used as kindling. Their branches and twigs are fine and slender. Birch trees also have catkins in springtime, and once pollinated by the wind, the catkins of a single tree can produce up to 1 million seeds in 1 year. Birch is traditionally associated with youthfulness and love. It's said that the warrior Diarmid and his lover Grania slept on a bed of soft rushes and birch tops.
This is Alder, and it's one of my favourite trees.
Alder is abundant in the hedgerows around Coole. In early spring, the purple leaf buds begin to unfurl. The bark of the young branches is covered in wart-like spots, which develop into deep creases as it grows older. Alder has compound leaves like the ash and rowan, but with only 5 to 7 leaflets. Our ancestors believed the elder tree could help sick children. They would pray to the elder mother, a spirit that lived in the tree, to take care of the children. We gather it here in summertime to make elderflower fizz and elderberry syrup. The syrup protects against colds and flus. Just make sure you cook the elderberries before you eat them, because raw elderberries contain cyanide and can make you very sick. Hawthorn is most often found in hedgerows because it's very effective at keeping cattle in their fields, thanks to its thorns. Although cattle do enjoy nibbling at the new growth. The young leaves and flowers make a nice snack for humans too, earning them the traditional nickname of bread and cheese. It often grows alongside blackthorn, which is the shrub, though really a small tree, that bears the small, astringent, plum-like fruit called sloes. Both hawthorn and blackthorn are in the rose family and have similar 5-petalled, creamy white flowers, so I find them tricky to distinguish from each other. But watch them in springtime. The hawthorn's leaves emerge before its flowers, while blackthorn does things the other way round, flowers before leaves. Blackthorn leaves are oval, and hawthorn leaves are lobed. Our ancestors believed that red berries were good for your heart and blood. And it seems like they were onto something, because recent research shows that hawthorn berries are good for blood pressure, heart conditions, and circulation. These berries grow in autumn and are also popular with birds such as thrushes, redwings, and blackbirds. This is Hazel, with golden bark and yellow catkins in the springtime. It's one of the best trees to coppice for firewood. You can cut it right back to the base and it keeps growing back. The softer twigs also make excellent toothbrushes. Just chew them until they become fibrous. Hazelnuts are of course edible, but wild hazelnuts are quite small and more easily extracted by squirrels and other rodents. These nuts are a really important food source for small mammals, and they in turn become dinner for birds of prey and pine martens. Our ancestors considered holly the king of winter, still dressed in green and red while everything around him looks drab and grey. They believed that drinking holly tea gave them the power of the holly king. It certainly is good for your immune system. The caterpillars of the holly blue butterfly eat holly and ivy. These festive evergreens are their only larval food source. The oak is regarded as Ireland's national tree. They can live for up to 250 years. Their acorns are valuable food for wildlife, and we can also eat them, ground into flour to make bread. Along with the ash, oak trees are one of the last to get their leaves in spring. Traditionally, people would tell the weather forecast for the summer based on which of the two species first gets its leaves. Oak leaves are very distinctive, divided into several rounded lobes. These are oak galls. These are formed when a gall wasp injects her egg into the oak tree, releasing a chemical which causes the tree to form a protective ball around it as the larva develops into an adult. Oak galls can be used to make black ink. Scotch pine can grow in mountainous places as it copes well with poor, rocky, sandy soil. Over time, it drops its needles and builds up the soil, creating a place for other trees to move in. The pine needles make a nice tea which clears mucus when you drink it or inhale the steam. Scotch pine is one of the tallest evergreen trees, and as it grows taller, its leaf canopy mainly develops at the top of the trunk. Its bark is reddish-brown and provides shelter to overwintering insects like ladybirds. Its cones are situated towards the top of its twigs. As an evergreen, pine is associated with everlasting life and love. Pine wood burns bright and was often used as a source of light. The willow tree is easy to recognize in springtime by its soft, fluffy catkins, which are an excellent source of nectar and pollen for bees and other insects who are waking up after winter. Willow grows fast, making it very useful for coppicing, often for making wicker baskets. And aspirin comes from its twigs. Willow is happiest on damp ground, even living right next to the river, and it helps to clean up pollutants and prevent riverbank erosion. These trees have lived in Ireland for thousands of years. Let's hope they will continue to grow with us and be joined by many more.